Hello there, and you join me on a very, very special morning to test out this Fujifilm GFX100 medium format 100 megapixel camera. Now, what this camera for me is all about is landscape photography. So that's what I've come out to do this morning in this absolutely beautiful location. And I've been coming here for the last few months fairly regularly, and this morning is just fantastic. I'm gonna have to take another picture while I'm at it because I've got this beautiful sunrise going on, picking up that beautiful pink colour, and I'm just really, really happy with what's happening at the moment. Now I've got this wetland here, I've got the birds singing all around me. I'm quite close to a road, but we'll ignore that. But this is a great camera to have at a time like this. And the title of the video is, what's the point? Do you need 100 megapixels? And in almost every situation, the answer is going to be no. But for landscape photography and for some studio portraiture type photography, sometimes it is quite valuable having those really high megapixel images because you can blow them up very, very big and still maintain the detail. And for landscape photography, that does matter to me now and again. If I want to make a print big, and I do feel that bigger is better a lot of the time when it comes to printing, then this camera is going to be great. So we're going to just explore around today. I've been testing it out for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I can't get over what I'm looking at here. At this moment in time, this is just a great camera to have. So I think what I'll do is talk you through this scene because it's just so fantastic. I mean, I couldn't have asked for more, really. I'm just going to tighten up my... Oh, so nice. The colours. So what I've got, let's have a look. We've got that sort of copse of trees there, which I just think forms a really nice subject. So I've got this sort of pond, and because it's so cold, it's frozen over just nicely. It's not that white, iced type look. It's just frozen solid. What that's doing, because it's really then quite smooth, is just giving me beautiful reflections of that sunrise in that ice. So it's going to be an image full of colour. It's then got these reeds growing out of it to provide some really interesting foreground for the scene. And as I'm looking on this little screen here, it just looks fantastic in the frame. Settings wise, I'm at f16. With a medium format camera like this, f16 is absolutely fine. You're not going to get any diffraction or anything like that. I'm at ISO 100. On the 2-second timer, I'm just going to fire it off. Move the camera out of the way. And let's have a little look at that. This is why you do landscape photography. You don't need a camera like this, but I wanted to capture an image that I was really happy with, that I could print really big for this video, and that's, I think, I've just captured that image. I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie, so it feels good to get this moment. Oh, this cloud's beautiful. I'm just too excited. Let's try again. 2-second timer. There we go. I'm happy with that image. What a start to this review. What a start to the day. I love it when it begins like this. It doesn't happen all the time, but putting the effort in makes sure that sometimes it does. Right, so I'm now set up for another shot, and as the sun is now a little bit higher in the sky, I've just come across this really fantastic tree that just jumped out at me as I walked past, and I think it's going to make just a really nice composition. So before I talk about that a little bit, let's talk about lenses. It's all the GFX line of cameras, some of which I've tested before, use these Fujifilm GFX lenses. Now they are specially designed to match these medium format sensors, and they are absolutely fantastic lenses. They're really well built. This one particularly, which is 100 to 200 zoom. It's a stupid thing, but the zoom ring is one of the nicest zoom rings I've ever come across. It's so smooth. It just has such a fluid motion. You can move it really easily, but then it never feels flimsy, like it's going to fall out of the focal length you've set is just so smooth, geared really nicely. Stupid thing, but I get excited about that kind of thing. The one I used for the first shot today was a 32-64. That's kind of been the lens I've used every time I've used these Fujifilm cameras, and it's really nice as well. They're the only two zoom lenses though, and this is one of the kind of irritations I still have with this GFX line, is that there isn't a trinity set of zoom lenses. So I normally use the 16-35, 24-70 and a 70-200, which pretty much covers everything I need for landscape photography. I've tried my best with the lenses I got with this camera, but I'm still, at the moment, I've got 64, and then I've got a gap between 64 and 100. And it's been interesting how many times I've found myself wanting to shoot in that gap of focal length when I've been testing out this camera. So that is one of the downsides of the GFX system, I believe. But the lenses that they do have are fantastic. They've got a lot that are good for kind of walking around with as well. This camera is probably a bit too big to be walking around with for very long. It is very much hand-holdable though, because it has the IBIS system, which is fantastic. I've been getting some really nice results down. I mean, for stills, I don't necessarily need image stabilization because I'd rather just bump the ISO and the shutter speed. But you can get some really nice handheld stills, even at low ISO in darker conditions because of the IBIS. It's a really nice system. It's also good for video, but this is not the camera for video. It does nice video. It looks great, but buying this camera for video, don't do that, because if you're spending this amount of money, there are better cameras you can get purely for doing video. I haven't felt the need at all to use this for video. That's not what this camera is about. It's about capturing really great stills in big resolution. That's what I'm doing here. So yeah, I've tried out a few things here, just focusing on that tree. I've tried the tree isolated all by itself. I've tried another shot with that log leading us in the foreground a little bit, so I've zoomed out a little bit. But at the moment, I'm at about 160mm. What am I at? Need to be, yeah, about 100 there, so 2-second timer. That light's looking beautiful on there. Just love it. I really do just love it. And having the sun on your face in the middle of winter as well feels good. Right, now that I've got a nice cup of coffee, I thought we'd just sit down for a minute and talk about some of the main features and things I like and some that I don't like about this camera. This is not the kind of review where you're going to get all the specifications. You can look that up if you want. But by far the most important factor about this camera for me is that medium format sensor. If I just take that off a second, you can actually see just how big that is. Now that is a 100 megapixel sensor. It is a fantastic one, I've got to say. I've been testing it for a while and the image quality is absolutely outstanding. And what often comes with a bigger sensor as well, a physically bigger sensor, is better dynamic range. Now, that's not something I normally worry about because you can just bracket. The dynamic range is absolutely phenomenal. You can just pull so much detail out of shadow areas. And unlike other cameras I've tried before, you can also pull quite a lot of detail out of highlights that would otherwise appear blown out, and most definitely would be blown out with cameras like 5D Mark IV that I'm filming on now. What I like about testing out these cameras is kind of seeing what's coming further down the line as the technology starts to develop. Because one of the things that cannot be ignored about this camera is the astronomical price tag, which kind of has a double edge to it, because this is a £10,000 camera. So it's absolutely insane. I can no way afford, not even nearly afford, a camera like this. The lenses are also about £2,500 each, so I'm walking around with about 15 grand's worth of gear today, which just makes me nervous as well. On the other hand, when you think about other 100 megapixel cameras, this is extremely cheap, because when you look at something from Phase 1 or Hasselblad that has that similar kind of build quality and things, you're looking into the realms of £40,000, £50,000. So this is providing something quite extraordinary for that price, albeit it's still extremely expensive. So who is this camera for? This camera could be for someone who who regularly hires a Hasselblad or a Phase 1 for those portrait shoots. It could be for the absolute enthusiast or professional photographer. It would be an investment, but the image quality is outstanding. It's like nothing I've seen before, actually, beyond those Phase 1 and Hasselblads. But, I mean, it's not going to be for everyone. Essentially, what you're paying those £6,000+ extra for, compared to other camera systems that are this kind of build quality and full frame, you're essentially paying to be able to make those much bigger prints. It really needs to be that specific. If you are printing big or displaying in print really big, and you still want that fine detail, then that's the only reason to get a camera like this. But like I said, that could be important to you. Because I can't get over the price. A couple of little things. It isn't particularly comfortable if you hold it that way. It's got the battery grip built in, which is quite nice. It's got the detachable eyepiece, or EVF, whatever you want to call it. That's quite nice. I've been rolling around mostly without it on, partly because it doesn't fit in your bag quite as easily with it on, because it kind of protrudes quite far at the back. But as EVFs go, it's probably the best one I've ever used. For the landscape photographer, the weight is going to be a big deal. It depends what type of landscape photographer you are, I guess, because I'm the sort that gets up hills and mountains and likes to carry all my gear with me. And this is quite heavy. I'm usually walking around with the Canon 5D Mark IV on 3 lenses. I'm now walking around with this camera, 2 lenses, and it weighs about the same. And that's, like I said earlier, is restrictive with those focal lengths that I want to be walking around with. So it is a very heavy camera. Once you get it on the tripod, I haven't had an issue with it. Fujifilm have thought really carefully about this camera, and apart from the price, I don't have too much to say about it that's particularly negative. But that price is a big one that is going to be cutting out 99.999% of us buying this camera. But I do think it's interesting to see what it can do. It's also extremely well weather sealed, which I have nervously put to the test a couple of times over the last week in the Lake District. Yes! Here! Hi, mate. Yep.
Anything to say hello, Paul?
Thanks very much.
Nice one, mate.
Cheers. See ya. Look at that. Huge. Here we go, Sparky. Here it is. Oh. I've been waiting a few days now for this to arrive. I'm very excited. So, knife. Ah, Sparky, man, what are you doing? I can still smell the ink as well. Oh, it's looking good. Right, here we go then. Let's take a look at... I don't think this is going to work. By Right, that's better. We can see it in all its glory now, and I think Sparky quite likes it as well, but it's just so nice with a print this big, with this much resolution, just to be able to look at it so closely and still be able to see all that fine detail. That's really what you're paying that extra money for. If you're not interested in that, then this camera is absolutely not for you. I'm gonna struggle to get over the price, but it is what it is, and if you want to have that fine detail in prints this size, and that's what that camera is for. Just for on the prints for a minute, I got that done at a place I used to go to in London called the Print Space. They're a absolutely brilliant lab for getting your prints done online. They just really care about the artwork. They have a gallery at the print shop as well in London. Yeah, they just produce this great work. There's lots of different materials and you can get it done small or very large like this. If you go down to the link below, there's a code to get 50% off your first purchase as well. And when you print your work, I've talked about it many times before, it's just so satisfying, and it becomes something completely different, more artistic than when we just view it on the screen. And if you blow it up as big as this, then it just is very exciting. It might be a camera that you choose to hire at some point in the future. It's gone back now, but I'm left with this print, which I will be able to enjoy as soon as I find somewhere big enough to actually put it up. I will put a link to the camera down below so you can have a little dream, and I'll see you on another one very, very soon.